Hi, I'm Peter Malone for Freedom for Journalists, and today I'm very privileged to have Tyler Corley on my show. Welcome to my show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. A little fun fact about us now is that we were on set on a movie together. Do you recall that?
Yeah, we're on the Vampire Zombies from Space, upcoming horror gore film, 50s style, from local filmmaker Jacob Scrippa.
You speaking of shows, you were also part of Bell Media with a new show that you're going to be part of, Windsor on Wheels.
Yeah, it's a new show that I'm being sponsored for. I'm going to be taking a look at the car culture in Windsor, Essex County, specifically the classic car and hot rod and restoration scene, which I'm a part of.
So your show would be based on walk us through what would the show be consisted of, like a car just coming in and just getting fixed on one section of the car, or a whole rebuild?
A portion of the show is going to be at my shop, JH Restorations, where I've worked for a decade now, and we're just going to be kind of doing a day in the life of what goes on in the shop, because we've got 3 bays, 12 employees, and we've got about 25 cars at the shop right now, all getting various restoration jobs done. So I'm just going to kind of go in and take a look at what's going on, highlight some of the interesting things, and then do a bit of just in-depth focus on, let's say, a specific thing. For example, right now we've got a 66 Dodge Charger that a customer is having us completely strip out and put a Hellcat motor from a 2020 Dodge Charger in it. And so one of the things that we're going to be filming when we start in the next week or two is the process of basically cutting the entire floor out of the car, dropping the motor and transmission in, the motor and transmission that doesn't belong in this car, and then rebuilding the entire floor and firewall to fit, which is, again, something that most people might not even know it can be done, or maybe fathom how is that done. And that's something that we're going to take a few minutes and take a peek at our fabricators as they're actually making the individual panels from scratch out of a flat piece of metal. And over the course of the show, as we check in on them through the episodes, we'll get to the point where we can see it's gone from just nothing to a fully fabricated floor that looks like it could have came out of the factory, all made by hand.
If everyone wanted a car restored, I would want to be the one from the A-Team and all that.
The 18.
Yeah.
Oh, the GMC van?
Yeah, that would be my favorite car to get restored. With that being said, is there any famous cars that you have worked on?
There was in 2017, I believe, we did a 1965 Cutlass 442, codenamed the Getter. And then the year after that, we did the Shocker Mustang, which was a 1965 coupe Mustang. It was just a 289 GT that the owner had since he was in college, and as he grew up, he became a doctor and was pretty well off. So he decided to make a road-going version of Ken Block's Unicorn car. So we did full carbon fiber wide body on it, put a 750 horsepower supercharged Coyote motor in it, 6-speed transmission, and by the time we were done, the only stock part of the car was the roof skin. Everything else was custom. And this year we've got another car that we haven't unveiled yet, but we've been working on it for about the last 2 years.
Can you give us a hint?
It's a car from the 80s that a lot of people had forgotten about. It was a partnership between Ford of Germany and Ford of America. And it's a car that, like I said, a lot of people have forgotten about it, but when they see it, oh, I remember that. I remember my neighbor used to have one of those. I remember back in high school.
Okay, so the people watching this on YouTube, if they want to comment up below and take a guess at it, that's okay?
Sure, take a guess. But it's going to be officially unveiled in this November at SEMA in Las Vegas. October or November? In Las Vegas. The car is going to be there for its official unveiling.
And you're a car guru, and I was told when we were talking before offset, you were telling me that you have 15 cars.
Uh, at one point I did. I'm down to only 9 now. I've kind of kicked the habit a little bit, but I've no. It's a learning. It's kind of a learning curve. I can't spread myself too thin, you know. And sadly, the thing that's caused me to get rid of or stop working on most of my cars has been, as anybody in this community will tell you, the fact that we're north and we're in the Rust Belt, and the cars are just rotten. The salt in the roads destroys them. So most of the time, when you see a car on the side of the road with a for sale sign in it, and it's affordable to you, and you say, "Oh, I can afford that," it's because it's rotten out underneath and unsafe and needs to be completely rebuilt. And that's the sad part of my job, and indeed my entire shop's job, is because people will come in with a car that they've held on to for 30 years that was their car from high school, or it was a car their parents gave them, because it's basically an art. And a lot of these cars, when like you take a wheel well and this part of it is just gone, eaten by salt and weather, a lot of the times you can't buy a panel for it. So it's up to basically artists, tinsmiths that we have working for us to recreate this from scratch. And it takes hours and hours. Take a piece of metal and beat it into shape and try and patch up holes and properly at that, because a lot of people will do it and do it poorly and just kind of rivet it on or put it on with booger welds and
Booger wells.
booger welds. That's the trade term for people who don't know how to weld properly.
Oh, okay.
They'll put a booger
Not
weld
the
on.
boogers I'm thinking about.
No, it's called booger welds because it looks like the metal is just looks like the welds are just dripping down.
What's the one car that you're looking for that you want to get, but you're just not there to achieve to get the car?
Well, I have a lot of goal cars. Let's say, on my wall that I had as a kid, and I said I'm going to get this car. One of them I really like is a 1965 Buick Riviera Grand Sport. Just something about it. I had a model of it as a kid, and I just always looked at it. And as I grew up, I really liked that car, and that's a car that of course I'm going to have to one day I'm going to find a good example of it, and I'm going to say, okay, I gotta get a loan, I gotta sell something, I gotta buy this car, because they're something you don't see often.
So you like older cars compared to newer cars then?
Oh yes, I don't own anything that isn't at least 20 years old.
Right. What's the first car you bought?
First car I bought was a 1988 Mercury Cougar, and I still have it to this day. I bought it 17 years ago. It was I bought it for $300 off the side of the road in Amherstburg, and me and my father put it together. I bought it before I could drive as well. I didn't get my license for 2 years after I bought the car, but I didn't care. I just wanted the car. Me and my father worked on it and fixed it up the best that we could to get it to pass inspection, and then pass inspection, and I drove it around, and years later is when I would get into the restoration business, and I started working for JH, and they really took it to the next level of showing me what is available in a restoration beyond going down to Canadian Tire and buying some parts off the shelf. Being able to say that I can take things that didn't belong in this car and put them in there. And I still have that car to this day.
That's precious memories.
Yeah, I'm not going to get rid of it. It's not going to really gain me any money to get rid of it, and so why would I get rid of it? It's something I can work on. I got the rest of my life to finish it.
And one more time, what's the name of your show that's going to be on
Windsor on Wheels. Windsor on Wheels. And so on top of the show being about the restoration process and the cars that I've built and cars in the community, interviewing people and having them tell the story the same as I'm telling you the story right now, it's also going to focus on the events that go on in Windsor, Essex County, car shows, racing, the cruises. Really nice. We like the Olette cruise. Obviously, I'm going to go down there. Yeah. So there's a lot that I'd like to explore. and get,
And you're shooting in 2 weeks.
2 weeks is when we're going to commence filming.
And how can people watch that?
It's going to be on 5 TV. It's going to be next year by the time it gets finished and shown.
And it's on local TV.
I don't know if it's going to be on local TV or not, but it's going to be on 5 TV is their streaming service, so anybody can watch it anywhere. I'm sure it will be advertised in Windsor because it's specifically about Windsor content.
Right.
And that was the whole goal of Bell, was to focus on the individual communities. People want content for Chatham, they want content for Toronto, and to put a spotlight on the town. And there's a lot of content out there, and my goal is to just kind of grab everything I can from all the different aspects of the car culture in this town and put them together in this show. There's so many people. There's so many cars. There's so many places that are doing it. So many businesses. There's so many events. It's just I've got so much content, and I'm just gonna go out and get as much as I can.
And speaking of content, people can follow me at Freedom for Journalists on my YouTube channel, and make sure they like and subscribe my YouTube thing, and they'll see more. They'll see this interview on YouTube. And thank you for coming on the show, man.
Looking forward
Yeah.
to it. Thank you very much.